Oh, Carol, you're such a kidder. Now, seriously. What? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and save that for the end of the review because it obviously happened at the end of the episode. But hey guys, welcome to my review of episode 3 of season 4 of The Walking Dead, Isolated. Warning, spoilers for the episode to follow. And wow, Walking Dead delivers again, only on a more subliminal fashion, as opposed to the more frantic, aggressive nature of last week's episode, because the majority of this entire episode are the ramifications and the consequences from the outbreak that happened in the last episode. Everybody's getting sick, and if there's one thing that freaks the hell out of me, and this is why I found this episode to be kind of terrifying, even more terrifying than to have walkers enter the prison. One thing that terrifies me a lot is disease, outbreak. Whenever, when swine flu hit back in 2008, 2009, I was freaking the hell out. I was just like, oh, please don't tell me it's actually happening. So whenever there's some sort of news that, a certain, virus has been discovered in some part of South America and there's some form of outbreak within this village, my mind automatically goes to that worst case scenario from like the movie Contagion, where everybody's getting sick, people are getting isolated, anarchy and chaos ensues. So being that the majority of this episode is just people dropping with this sickness one after another, to the point where big players of the show, main characters, big important characters are becoming infected, it just comes to show that this thing is deadly and can affect anybody, and anyone can go at any moment. It kind of sucked to see Sasha getting sick, but her getting sick was more of a drive for Tyreese to develop more as a character, because Tyreese is probably one of the bigger focal points of this episode. This is the episode where Tyreese shows some development instead of being that big guy that says, I want to do things to earn my keep around here, I want to help out. This really digs deep into his character, and I really loved it. His reaction to seeing Karen's body from the end of last week's episode really shows, and it also shows how, that old psychotic Rick may or may not still be lingering in there after he just beats the crap out of him. But I love the development with Tyreese more, and how he knows that he just can't be grieving the whole time. He has, if he really wants to help out and catch whoever's responsible for killing Karen and David, who is also the other, his name happened to be David, the other guy that was sick along with her, whoever killed both of them, he wants to bring them to justice. And of course, his only focus was on that alone. But as he saw Sasha fall sick to this, he knows that, I can't just linger on this, and while I linger on trying to find whoever killed my girlfriend, I gotta worry about my sister, my own flesh and blood. So I better go on this run with Daryl and Michonne and Stookie and try to get medicine. And while on the subject of lingering, I really did like that they touched the surface with some of his issues, if you will, whether it be in the writing for his character or the writing for the episode in general. Two good examples would be him seeming to be a little suicidal when he was in the car and the car gets attacked by walkers and he just doesn't want to get out, but eventually he's just like, oh, screw this, and he goes out there and risks his life to save Stookie, because he's obviously the one who's a little more proficient on medicine. And another thing that I liked is that right when you see him get engulfed by walkers, I'm like, okay, they're gonna do the whole, oh my god, he sacrificed his life to save Stookie, and I'm like, there's no way they're doing that. They announced that Tyreese was gonna be a regular for the show. How in the hell are they gonna kill him off in the third episode of the season? That doesn't make any sense. And of course, he comes back literally minutes later after the commercial break. So I really like that they didn't play the whole, is he dead or isn't he? Because we're like, okay, he's a series regular. He can't be dead. And of course, they bring him back literally after the commercial. So I was like, oh, okay, there you go. You didn't try to go with that cheap, is he dead or is he not trick. But like I said before, the majority of the episode focuses on the people getting sick within the prison. And I mentioned Sasha already. Unfortunately, one of our favorite characters of the show, Glenn, comes down with a sickness. Will he make it or will he not? Who knows? There's the possibility that the medicines that they're going to bring back work, but who knows? I mean, only the next episode is probably going to be able to tell. And whether or not Daryl and the team are going to be able to make it to the medicine to bring back, because you saw all those walkers that I'm not entirely sure, but I think that was the most walkers I've ever seen in a shot within the Walking Dead show. That was like, it was like almost a mile. My jaw dropped. But seeing Glenn come down with the sickness was truly heart-wrenching because he has become one of the more favorite characters of the show, right up there with Daryl. And, you know, I need... Okay, I'm going to go ahead and trail back to, I think it was last week's episode. Right when Glenn took a picture of Maggie when she was sleeping, and being that the camera was one of those instantaneous cameras that the photo automatically pops out, and they were able to both look at it, and she's like, oh, just throw it away. I was going to say delete it, but they don't have digital cameras. She's like, oh, just throw it away. He's like, not going to happen. Right when he took that picture, I was like, oh, one of them is going to die. Or at least one of them has the possibility of dying. Because him taking that picture was the equivalent of a soldier in a war movie having a picture of his girlfriend and turning to his friend and saying, this is my girlfriend, one day we're going to get married. Right when they say that, it's a death sentence, because you know that soldier's not going to make it back. He's going to die. And Glenn taking that photo of Maggie was the equivalent of that for me. So now him coming down with the sickness, just be prepared, guys, because I'm preparing myself for the worst. But aside from feeling quite terrorized at the sight of an outbreak happening within any sort of environment, because like I said, I'm terrified of outbreaks, I really liked what it did with some of the characters that are not sick at the moment, but are trying to deal with this. You know, Maggie and Glenn being in there, I mean, that must be, quite heart-wrenching for her. Beth, you know how in the pilot episode, Beth saying, hey, my boyfriend died, life goes on, that doesn't exactly get explored, but it does get brought back from the pilot episode, because once again her philosophy of all of us having our jobs gets portrayed to an extent, and I like that they kept that from the pilot episode. And I really liked Hershel's attitude towards all this. I really liked his little speech to Rick and Maggie when he's telling them that, hey, one way or another, we're risking our lives. It's what you risk it for that counts. I really loved that speech. I felt inspired by it. And as he's trying to heal everybody within the prison, he takes off his garment after being spit on with blood and vomit by the main doctor of the prison, who has also come down with the illness, which is the reason why Hershel goes in there and he's just like, screw it, I gotta help these people. And right when he removed that garment and wiping off the blood from his face, I think that somewhat symbolized the possibility of Hershel going out as well, because of him risking his life to try to help out these people. What if the medicine doesn't get to him in time? What if because of the fact that he's probably the oldest one within the main council, he gets sick and it affects him a lot quicker, and the medicine just doesn't get to him in time. There's all these possibilities that can happen with this character, especially of how valiant he's being during the situation. Granted, it is a rather courageous way to go, but there is still the chance of him going out as well, along with Glenn and Sasha. And like I said, the majority of the episode deals with the results of what happened in the previous episode. And throughout the episode, we get to see how far Carol's willing to go to help out these people. I mean, she risks her life out there in what was kind of a very stupid way by developing this little gadget to ward off the walkers away from her while she tried to fix the water, to try to get more water after she had spilled it, after getting quite pissed off of how bad things are happening and how helpless she feels, especially after that little girl has been also quarantined within that hall where all the sick people are at. And Rick kind of takes notice of this, like, wow, she did a really stupid thing out there to try to help out these people. She must really care about these people. I wonder how far she will be willing to go to protect people from this illness. And at the end of the episode, Rick just throws that out there. Did you kill Karen and David? Carol's response, yes. And much like what I'm assuming was the rest of America's response, my jaw just dropped. I think Carol's maternity instinct has gone a little too far. But after the episode had ended, I thought to myself, what if maybe Carol's covering for somebody who is actually willing to go to that extent? So, there's all these possibilities as to why she said yes. Maybe she did really do it, or maybe she, like I said, is covering up for somebody, or maybe she believes that it's right, depending on who it was that actually did that. She's covering them up somehow, some way, even if she doesn't know them. There's all these possibilities, and because of that, it makes sense for them to have put that right at the end. But much like with Daryl and Michonne, Stookie, and Tyreese making it to the medical supplies, as well as Hershel possibly helping out helping these people get better? Will some of these people, including Glenn and Sasha, make it? And what does this mean for Carol? Only the next episode will be able to tell that. So even though it wasn't as scary and as frenetic and aggressive as the previous episode was, containing all those things that we loved about The Walking Dead, this episode still managed to not only introduce things, quite early in the season, such as Carol's revelation, as well as the voice on the radio, because I thought this is actually pretty early to already reveal that voice that we saw, that we heard in the trailer in the 3rd episode of season 4 alone. And it still had that very, very intense and horrific vibe to me personally about there being an outbreak and just taking out these people one by one, people that you wouldn't expect to get sick, while others that are still not being sick for a particular reason. I mean, does this affect people at certain times, or are there certain people that have something within them that makes them immune to them? I don't know, only time will tell. But it is a rather significant episode that managed to progress the consequences and the results that happened after the outbreak of the 2nd episode, and it still managed to keep us at the edge, while not having a whole lot of Walker action going on, but it still managed to do the job right. So I give Isolated an 8.7 out of 10, which is a B+. I'll be back next week with my review of episode 4, and until next time guys, see you later.